I actually was stupid enough. Can you remember? I said to the team, let's keep this away from the team. Let's play the match.
Hours away from any town. He's got this knife. In my head, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a freezer right now. He's got this knife. I was like, this is it.
I'll miss again. Felix, well, come on, how did you get in here? No, Kudin. No, welcome, man. Come have a fight with me. And straight towards the hole. How's that? Oh, that's in, man. I personally thought if we try and connect to the supporters and tell a little bit more about our team and about us as individuals, I think they'll appreciate it. I would have loved to get your stuff and some of the things that people don't know about us. And everybody's sort of chasing the sun, and everybody, I think, has got a pretty good idea of what you do inside the Springbok camp, and we don't want to go too much into that, what you're going forward. I think everybody knows your rugby ability. But I was thinking it should be interesting if I ask you first up, where did you first in your life hear about me? Ever? When did you say, okay, was it at Munster? Where was the first time? Because I can definitely tell you a little bit later where I met you the first time and where I've heard the first time about you. So if I ask you, where did you hear the first time about me?
Yeah. Okay. So it was definitely Munster, and I had retired a couple of months before, and it was when Axel was still alive, and Axel had asked me to come in a couple of times to start coaching with Munster, just informally, which I did a couple of times, and then they got to the business end of the season, and I'd started exploring life after rugby a little bit, and then news broke that you were coming into Munster. And that Garrett Fitzgerald, who when he's also unfortunately has passed away, but he contacted me and said, listen, do you want to meet this guy, Rassie Erasmus? So the first time I'd heard your name was probably in the media that you were coming into Munster. And then Garrett said, would you like to meet him? And I said, yeah, sure. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of he just wants to talk to somebody that was probably in the environment a bit and get a feel for it and all that kind of stuff. So then I contacted CJ Stander, and immediately in my head I was like, right, okay, we're going to be talking a lot of rugby. Coaching is something I might want to get into. I didn't know for sure if it was or not, but I thought let myself be loaded if I'm going to meet the next head coach, that maybe I could pick up some insights into how to go into the coaching world. So CJ then said, CJ told me then who you'd coached and the Cheetahs and the Stormers and all that stuff. And so then I went home and I would have gone down and I saw the stuff about the lights and all that kind of that kind of stuff. And I watched a couple of games that I could find of teams that you'd coached. And then I think I met you in the Castletroy Park Hotel in one of the suites in there. And it was in your room, and I don't know how, but we got talking about rugby straight away. I remember leaving the room going, he was looking me in the eye for so long. I remember you were just like constantly looking at me in the eye, and I can't remember what we were even talking about, but not in a threatening way, just I don't know, feeling me out or whatever. And then at the end of the conversation, you were like, look, I think I need another assistant coach. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I went back and told my wife, I was like, I think this is going to happen. That was it.
Well, but interesting around that, I think people don't realize, but before URC was there, or Pro 14 or Pro 12 or what it was in those days, we didn't see Pro 12 games. Six Nations we saw, we didn't see Leinster playing. We didn't want to watch Heineken Cup because we didn't have teams there. So when I got there, I really didn't know who Felix was. And obviously you guys didn't watch a lot of Super Rugby, or we didn't know who each other were. So how long after that, before that, did you break your neck and stop playing? How old were you prior to that, just to get that more or less in perspective?
So I broke my neck when I was... I think I was about 22, somewhere around that, 21, 22, 23, it was around that time. I dislocated my neck, C5, C6 vertebrae, and I was really lucky not to be paralyzed. And, at the time I was told I was going to have to retire, all that. And somehow made it back where I had a doctor that said, oh, well, look, there's been one or two of these examples very similar to that in the NFL, and they made it back. And immediately I went, okay, I'm coming back. But then when I was about 27, 28, I'd missed out in selection for the 2015 World Cup. And then I went back and played a game for Munster, and I had a similar mechanism of injury, but it was a different injury at a different spot, which would require another fusion. And they said, no, look, we can't. This is it.
And that
You're
was
done.
20 what?
That would
20?
have been 2014, 2015,
Yeah,
just around the same time.
yeah. And I guess that's what I don't think the people know is that you didn't really have a coaching job before that. You were assisting, and the guys used your brain a little bit at Munster. But now, how I got to know Felix is
Yeah.
I actually flew over for 2 interviews. The one was at an English club, and the one is at Munster. And when I got there, the first club that was all, can you do media? How's your corporate talking and those kind of things? And I thought, no, this is not, I don't think I'll fit in here. But then I went to Munster, I had the interview there. And I think I've never actually told you this. Uh, I chatted to most of the guys who's been there for a while, Paul O'Connell and Jerry and a lot of guys. But Jerry was also new in his coaching career. But then everybody said to me, listen, here's this guy, Felix Jones. And I said, I really don't know him. You don't know me. And I asked Gareth, who was our CEO, who also passed away. I asked him, listen, can I just have a chat with the guy? And I remember they gave me this big suite in Castle Troy Hotel. Yeah. And I'm hell of a scared of the dark. I don't know if people know about that, but this room was massive. And I was so glad if you guys come in, I had somebody to talk to. But you got in there, and I think we chatted for like an hour and a half, and I just, the feeling that I got is, listen, there's work ethic here, and I think your first real coaching gig was then. We appointed you, and I flew back and told Jock. Jock didn't have the job yet. I don't know how many people knows that, but then it was you and Jerry, and Axel was the head coach. I came in as director of rugby. Jock actually thought he had the job already. I made him fly over there, packed his bag. He didn't know he still had an interview there at Munster, but then Jock got the job. But the big thing is, it was actually your first coaching step, which you really did. And I mean, I remember the first meeting when we sat, when Axel was still alive, and maybe we'll get a little bit into it, the Axel passing away and so on. And then fast forward, you've won 2 World Cups. You've worked with England. You've done an attack coach. You've done a defense coach. You've done the technical work. Well, and you've got a certain role you're going to play for us now in the Springboks. Which, if we get into that today, fantastic. If we don't, but yeah, from me meeting you there. The day we then played in about 7 games, we coached together, and then I got the opportunity to come back to South Africa, and I must actually get it. It's in my room. You and Jerry gave me this watch. I've never worn it, but Quadine, my dog, got a hold of the case in which it is, so the case is a bit worn out, but I've never put the watch on. And it's always something special, which I will remember because, for people trusting somebody so quickly coming in, and we can talk now about all the things we went through. But if I fast forward a long way back, and this is what this talks is all about, it's not so much about the rugby, it's about how Munster accepted me. And although people think there's a hell of a thing between me and the Irish people, I don't think there is. I think it's a media hype, which is good, which is good for the game. But I do want to fast forward after we won the World Cup, and we had the trophy tour. And I'll take out the, what do you call it, the watch now, but I won't show the guys the people the letter that you wrote me. But this will just always, this will always be a very special thing in my head, and it's something that I got put it in my room, and then I take it off, and then I put it next to my bed, and then when it's going really bad and people are not too happy in South Africa, this means a lot, lots of time. So I don't want to tell the story, but when he left, for the people who's listening, he gave me this. But there's a little bit of a story around this. I don't know if you are willing to share that with us.
It was 2019, so it was on the 2019 trophy tour. I can't remember the area we were in.
It was in Port Elizabeth.
It was, and it was the I'd never seen anything like it in my lifetime. What I could see in terms of how, I would say, difficult a position the people that were living there were in. But they had so much joy. They were so happy to see the Springbok bus and all that. But there was a girl in this red dress,
Mm,
and I think she was on her own, and she was so happy.
mm,
But she was so beautiful. Like, she was a gorgeous girl, and I, I saw you looking at her ass, and I mean, looking at it myself, I was like, even now I can feel and I could see you were quite emotional about it. And I could in that moment, I felt I kind of understood a little bit of
mm,
why we do things and how hard we have to fight for the Springboks,
mm,
because there's a bigger thing there that it's just not the same in other countries. And I felt the reason I wanted to give that to you was all the stuff that had happened at that stage. Obviously, I'd left, I'd left after 2023, but all the stuff that had happened from the 2019 World Cup, the Lions series, and all the stuff that I think people don't have any idea what we had to go through
mm.
to just get through that series, let alone win it, and all the sacrifices that I think you made, more so than anyone else within the Springboks. I just felt that this
Mm.
would be a reminder of the reason why we're doing it, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I will never share the letter with everybody, but the letter actually just said, listen, when things are not going too well, think about this,
Mm,
which was pretty special. Yeah, and no, I think if people understand, when I got to Munster, you guys had to trust me, and we did pretty well. And then when I had to leave there, because of the country, I can come back to my home
mm,
country, So, and there was no fights or anything. Gareth, who was the CEO, I know there was some legal work that had to be sorted out, but one of the toughest things was actually to tell you and Fla, you and
mm,
Jerry, and I remember it was there, the braai, say, yeah, guys that actually didn't know. And I
mm.
called you guys in and said, listen, I'm going back. And I remember Jerry
He
he
was
was
he was
upset.
pissed off. Yeah,
He asked straight up, I mean,
yeah,
are you serious? Are you going to just leave us
yeah,
like that? You
yeah.
told us all these promises, and are you leaving? And it was tough. It wasn't like we were going to fight, but
Mm,
he was, I don't know what this hartseer in English
mm,
word. It hurt him, and it hurt me seeing him that way, and we had to leave from there. But now, when you look later in life, now Jerry had a wonderful year last year. He went to
mm,
become a defense coach at Harlequins, pretty successful there. And last year we had a pretty good year. And I think the trust, I think that's what people must understand. People sometimes look and say, but why do you get this guy? And why? Sometimes in a management coaching team, you don't need a specific action that needs to, or area that needs to be coached. You need a certain person to help this management team function better. And I guess that's in short, what I want to
yeah.
explain to the people must just get across. Because when I left, even after that thing, I said to Jerry and you there at the barbecue or braai which we had at my place,
Mm,
which I rented. Um, you guys came after that and gave me the watch, and that's also special. But then I think when I asked you guys to come across this side, it was also a big ask for you guys to move over here. And most people, like Andy, who's our conditioning coach, Alec, who was our head of strength and conditioning. We have got Perry now, he's in France, but he's an Irishman. So Anthony, who's from New Zealand. But people, South Africa is a tough place. But I mean, this was the final thing where you saw that. That's why I feel we never play for the cups, because the
mhm,
cups are for South Africa. It's not our cup or South Africa's cup. But those
mhm,
moments when that lady of girl ran next to the bus and
mm,
looked at the bus, and what we experienced there. If you can maybe just say, I know you already touched on it,
mm,
but how difficult is it to settle into South Africa? Of
mm.
course, everybody think it's this dysfunctional place, which a lot of stuff are dysfunctional, or not working proper, and we don't have. What were some of the things that when you got here that you had to get used to, which we warned you about?
Yeah.
But what would you say?
Yeah, good question. Well, certainly the humor, like trying to make jokes, that was, trying to, obviously, when you're with a new group, when you first come over, you try to make a few jokes, but they just landed completely flat in their face. And some guys, why would you even joke about something like that? And I was like, look, this is going to be a bit harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Um,
You
so I
mean
think,
ask?
yeah,
Because your sense of humor and excuse my English, I don't always know how to exactly put it, but the way it's the Irish. Yeah, there's in every pop stand-up comedian, and they all can sing, and they're just jolly people. And
yeah,
when I was there, I experienced the same. So that's not funny. But you guys would break yourself, and me and
yeah,
Jacques would.
yeah.
Even the players wouldn't understand our humor.
So that was probably the first thing was trying to just fit in, and I tried a bit of that, and it definitely didn't go down well. So I was like, right, I'll have to go again. Um, Obviously the difference in cultures, that was a huge one. You're coming in and you're going. I'm going into South Africa, and you think, right, I must get used to the South African way, but it's not the same as going into, say, France or into
Mm,
an Ireland where uh, the the people are generally a lot more similar. Whereas obviously in South Africa, there's so many different cultures and languages
mm,
and ways of doing things and societies within the societies. And that for me was completely eye opening to try and speak to my pimps, for example, at the beginning. I'd never met anyone like my pimps before versus speaking to someone like Peter Steff for the first time. And then,
or private school boy,
or
or
yeah,
government school boy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So completely different, just people in having had completely different experiences in their lives. So that was from a professional point of view, it made me grow because I had to figure out how can I get a message to these guys to get them to do X, Y, Z, or to help them improve. So I had to figure that out. But also, it was a challenge to try and fit in with them but I think that's probably the best thing that I have experienced from my time, just having lived here a little bit and spent so much time out here, is the understanding then of that, and when you actually understand how kind all those people are, particularly in the context of the Springboks, trying to make the thing work. It's really powerful, and that's probably been one of the most enjoyable things. And I see it now straight away, having just come back. Everyone's in the room for the right reasons. The intention is for you to do well, for me to do well, for the team to do well. Despite the completely different upbringings and places where they are in their lives and society. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was,
And you
yeah.
use the word mind. Maybe if we are back to Munster, that's where I actually heard the word. You must mind each other. It's like you must, I think almost, I don't know if the right word's tolerate it, but in South Africa, probably because, a certain culture, if they look you in your eyes, it's challenging other
Yeah.
culture. If they look down, it's respect. So in the Springbok team environment, not only you would struggle with that, but also me, who grew up in an Afrikaans town of the Spatch, going to Afrikaans town in Bloemfontein and then coming to Cape Town, then all the different religions, all of those things. So I guess when I got to your side in Munster, if we all back to that side, after how many months? 3 months, the head coach, who everybody thought is my age. Everybody thought, oh, we must get rid of him. It was like that, not wasn't out there, but the feeling I got is listen, come in as director of rugby, clean up, and that's the feeling I got. But then I met Axel, who was the head coach, who played for Ireland, played against me, with the same age, same era we played in, and I met him there. And after I met you, and I met Jerry, and of course Jerry also wanted to stop when he was in Ireland. He actually wanted to stop coaching. He didn't
Yeah.
enjoy it anymore. So I convinced him to go on, asked you to get on board. And then I went to Axel, which was now the tough one. Long story short, I enjoyed the guy so much. And I think the working way I think we only played 3 games or 2 or 3 games with him as the
Yeah.
head coach and me, the director of rugby. And then we went to France. We played against Racing. We were going to play against Racing on a Sunday, I think. And then the Saturday night, Axel sent me a podcast, and it was creating your own reality. Can you remember that?
I
The
remember.
podcast was about creating your own reality.
Mm.
And yeah, there's something else that happened on the plane which maybe I shouldn't talk about, but I had this weird feeling the whole weekend. And that Saturday night, we're playing on Sunday. Axel sent me a WhatsApp, creating your own reality, and I read it. And we still use it a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot. You could create your own reality. We don't listen to other people. We're creating our own reality, which hopefully are the truth, not what all the people spin on the outside. But then Axel used to say everything. If he pretends he can speak French, he will say, I'll meet you in La Bar, or I'll meet you downstairs. Everything was just in front of everything. And he texted me and he said to me, I'll meet you down at La Bar for a drink. And I said, no, Axel, I'm tired, man. We'll chat tomorrow morning. Got down the lift. We had a line-out meeting, and Axel wasn't there. His real name's Anthony, Axel Foley. This is for other people. You guys, obviously, is a monster legend, I mean, he was captain. He's just, when I realized the size of this guy's aura there, it was just immense. And then, long story short, because it's a bit sad, I remember George Murray. I said, where's Axel? Because Axel was never late for a line-out session because he enjoyed that. And I said, I think he's passed away. And I just said it like that. And I remember all of you guys looked at me like that. And I said, George, go up to his room, man. I said, I'm not going with. But I mean, it's a very stupid thing to assume, or a weird thing to assume. And I was waiting down that lift, and George went up with the hotel security, and George came back, and he was just pale. And I said, out of respect, I will use the words. I said, did he pass away? But I didn't quite say it like that because I was shocked when I saw George's face. And basically, he passed away, and I would remember, now these were the things we went together. You just came into the team, You're not came into the team, but it's your first coaching gig as part of the coaching team. And not knowing culture, I don't know the Irish culture, and I didn't know how big Axel was. I then realized already, but then him passing away there, his father was in a hotel close by, and I actually was stupid enough. Can you remember? I said to the team, let's keep this away from the team. Let's play the match. Of course, in South Africa, people die sometimes. I mean, my father died on a Thursday, on a Tuesday, and the Thursday it was a funeral. On a Monday, I was back in the army again. That's how it worked. Not that I say it's just different because you guys celebrate, when people pass away, you celebrate the guy's life. We here sometimes tend to not do that. Not that I'm saying the one or the other is right. It's just different traditions. And then I remember, and all of you went, hey, are you crazy? How can you not tell the players? And I said, okay, I'll go and tell the players. And I walked into the room, and I just couldn't say anything to the guys. You guys were standing left and right there, and Niall, who was he's still the manager, I think, of Munster. I said to him, I broke down in tears. I said, Niall, you go and tell the guys. And Niall told the guys, and long story short, they had to get Axel out of the hotel, and we all sat there in the foyer, and the game was cancelled, and we saw how they carried him out. But then we flew back to Munster. But that experience there, of celebrating. That's where I heard of the month mind. When you mind a guy a month after he's passed away, how you get together at his house where he's in a respectful way on display for people to say goodbye if they want to walk past him. He was in the house, wasn't he? Where he stayed still. And how the people taught me that, I think the same respect that I've got for Irish people and they do with people. And that's why I thought you guys will fit in here, because if they could took me with my Afrikaans accent, and know how many times I've buggered up and tried to make a joke and it just didn't, or say the wrong thing, and I went to HR a few times because I was saying things that was acceptable in South Africa. Not acceptable, we weren't as sensitive for it. So it was almost like 10 days of getting Axel back. We actually carrying the coffin, burying him, and I remember, what is his sister's name again?
Olive.
Yeah, Olive, yeah. And, how emotional that was. But then how the Munster people took upon us and protected us. And we actually, I think we won 85%, like 21 out of 26. So I don't know what the games was. And that's why I thought if they could accept me, of course, listen, it's a big thing for overseas-based coasters to come to South Africa. Firstly, you don't want to be unfair for people here. But secondly, you have to adapt to South Africa. But I just thought, if people understood that I had to adapt to things there. And then I think after a year past the funeral, it's a year's mind. Am I right? Yeah, where they mind him
To
again
be an
and the guy. So
anniversary of
yeah,
it, yeah.
that's something that I don't think people know that what we went through together. Me, you, and Jerry and Jock and Alet. And then you guys came back, as you said. Now we went through things like this, but also Felix. I don't know if people know this. You probably can't speak Afrikaans, but you understand or get the tune out of most of our conversations. You pick up what we're saying, but you won't understand the conversation. Did you not go to Hoofsia, to a township where you grew up? Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I don't think people know how you got into the South African way of how things are.
Yeah, I did. It was after 2019 again, and I actually haven't really told many people about this. Maybe my family and a couple of other guys. See it. It was I think we were in, well, I can't remember the name of the hotel, but Sia was going out for a meal with myself and Alad. We were just trying to get a quick pizza in because the trophy tour was crazy and there was no meal times and stuff. It was just into a hotel, right? There's a bit of food here, but we tried to just sneak down the road for some pizza, and we were down there, and he said, "Look, I think I'm going to go home." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Do you guys want to come?" And we said, and he was like, "I want you to come. I want you to see it. I want you to experience it." And I said, "Yeah, okay." Alad, I think, had something else on that meant he couldn't. So we went, and that was like I've never seen anything like that before. We went to like a tavern or like a shebeen, on the side of the road. Maybe a kilometer or two in. When we first arrived, I mean, when somebody realized it was the car got mobbed, and people were just trying to celebrate. And but I was actually I was like, there's so many people here, and there was we had just come from the trophy tour where we had security and we had people controlling stuff, but there was so many people. They were trying to get into the car stuff just to celebrate, all like trying to, celebrate for and get, CC. And so, but we made it through that bit where that initially I was like, oh, we're immediately completely ill-equipped here to handle this many, what's going to happen here. I didn't know. And then we were driving in and we got to the shebeen, and I seeing all that, there was a world that I would never have experienced before. And then driving around, he showed me his house and where he grew up and where he'd slept and ate and all that. So really just I'm showing me where he grew up and was playing and on the streets and stuff. And I mean, it was just
it's actually it's shocking in a way. It's shocking when you see that. But I think again, not a lot of South Africans has done that, and not a lot of South Africans know what a township look like. And by this, I'm not pointing fingers at all about everything. It's just our lives goes these routes where you don't get to mind other people's situations. Like same with guys on a farm, boy. Not a lot of people, maybe from the township, has been on a farm, or maybe the private school boys has never, experienced with a government school. There's great government schools as well, but I think the word mind. Which I learned in Ireland, is something that we really try. And I think the example that you and Sia and Jerry and Alet and all the guys has been here, and then Swandile, me and him was on the chat last weekend. And I mean, he certainly take a little bit getting used to his personality. But the moment you understand that and you see how much Stocker minds us, of course, he's got a certain way and his culture, certain things are cool and we might not understand it. What I'm trying to say is not saying, listen, guy, we're just going to accommodate everybody. But within the Springboks setup, that's certainly the mindset. And again, if the people can get out of this, why we've got, if we get the right people, you certainly weren't the best coach at Munster. I certainly weren't the best option that Munster could get as a director of rugby. But then I think we would have gone the whole way with Axel. I don't think Axel would have got fired. We did, if he didn't pass away. And I think that what I learned there, apart from the Munster way or the island way of, they do precision farming. They take those 120 players and they make them better and they make them better and they make them better. Where we tried that when I came back from Munster, and I think we're incorporating a lot of that currently. But yeah, just the word mind. I've seen you guys do it as well, not just talk it. The other thing is the Guija songs. I mean, not always to. I mean, you I know you went Francois Low. You were close to him and understood the private school, and you understood to try to speak Afrikaans. And I mean, I don't know how many people knew you were in a band, but yeah, we might not get into that. But you're not the straightforward nerdy coach, which people think are just stuck into rugby. I mean, the Guija songs you learned. Or one or two, I'm
Yeah,
not sure, but you could sing it with the guys.
yeah.
Most of the Irish
It was,
guys are bloody well musical or have got rhythm, or some of our white Afrikaners like me,
mm.
can't even knock with rhythm on a front door. But I mean, you guys are you picked it up much
Well,
quicker than us.
yeah, well, I mean, the first of all, I thought it sounded good. You know what I mean? Not understanding anything about them, I just thought, oh, that's got rhythm to it, and it's
Mm.
got a vibe to it, and there seems to be an atmosphere that is when the guys sing it, or when the people sing it, you can feel it's actually having it's lifting them, it's uplifting. So just from the a high view, I thought, oh, that sounds good. But it was Stocka, I think, that really kind of explained it. Do you remember when we went to Corsica,
Yeah,
and we went on one of the days off, the coaches' days off, we went through a I think we went to a wine farm or something like that in Corsica, and we went up driving, and we were all singing some songs, which I
was
still
it?
have the video.
I just know coaches going to.
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
coaches, when
yeah,
we just
yeah,
did it as a
yeah.
coaching, the
Well, I
coach.
remember the first hour.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember.
And we were on the back of the trucks and stuff. And then we went down, and they were singing, the Corsicans were singing some of their songs and their history, and it was all in French or Italian or whatever the language was that they were speaking in these songs. And then they asked us to sing a few songs, and um, it was there that I was asking Stocka about, because he's a brilliant singer. And after that, knowing that it sounded good, I said, well, what does it actually mean? What do the words mean? And I mean, when he explained that to me, I thought so much of that is also encapsulates what we are as the Springboks. And then talking to, I think, Sia and the guys, and there's a period of time when they weren't singing before training, and they used to sometimes sing and
But
before the game,
quietly,
but
not
quietly, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then in 2019 they were singing that a lot before training sessions, and Aled used to sing and dance and get involved in it. And I think there was a period somewhere around 2023 where the guys weren't doing it, and I just realized from Stocka what all the stuff it meant. I said, but see, why aren't you guys singing at the moment? He said, I don't know. And then they started doing it and picking it up. And then the Ouija squad came out to France before the semi or the final.
Yeah.
I can't remember. And I just thought it was a beautiful part of the culture.
Yeah, and again, the thing there is minding each other. So we don't expect a guy who feel uncomfortable to sing the Guija song with. And so is Franco Mostert, the big boombox that he always, he's like our DJ for the people who doesn't know out there, for how long he stays in the team. So he always has the playlist and everything. And one of the things that we sorted out, if you can remember, prior to the first World Cup, well, before we announced the squad, we had this whiteboard and we said, okay, before we announce the squad, we still got these things to sort out. And I wrote down the first 5, and I say, we're not going to go out of here until we've actually talked about difficult things. And I don't have to mention that to the people. But the one was, listen, I like Afrikaans songs. I'm 50. When you only play the first part of a song and then you skip to the next song, I get frustrated. But, I mind you guys and you the players and you must play. But that frustrates me. And then some of Afrikaans or English or white guys, said, but they feel uncomfortable singing that. And then some of the black players said, but listen, we don't like the song that you guys are playing the last 3 minutes as we get to the stadium. And I guess not the compromise is what's the best for the Springboks, what's the best for South Africa. And that is including a Welshman, 2 Irishmen, now an Englishman, a New Zealander. So to try and keep that in, it was a simple solution. Listen, we make a playlist, everybody says what is on the playlist. And if you don't want to listen to the song, put on your earphones. And if you don't want to sing the Guija War or the Afrikaans song with, or, social play, all of these things here, and we'll mix it up. And I guess that's also, again, you guys led the way there, minding each other. It's not to say we all have to do this, but listen, let's try and do it together. Because if we do it together, we'll probably nobody must be uncomfortable doing it.
Mm.
So if it bothers you, put on your earphones, man. If
Mm.
you don't have the rhythm,
Yeah.
don't go and dance there if you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But also then when Afrikaans song comes on, or the English song comes on, or, the impies are running out,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things it's different
Yeah.
and different cultures. But I must be able. I must be honest. What I learned in Munster and what you guys again came over here. Same with Andy Edwards now, and the same with the players who I feel currently, which people talk a lot, who's playing in Japan currently. They bring some Japanese culture back, and the guys who play in France. So and everybody always talk about South African diversity. But guys going abroad and coming back with new ideas and how things are done from Ireland, then from a township, then from a private school. I know people think it's a bit of a cliche. We always say, our diversity is our strength. But it is.
It is, yeah. I'm not talking about if guys bring, stuff back that they know, we did this starter move and, tactically bringing stuff back. I think when the guys come back from different countries or cultures and they bring back the way of doing things and I think it keeps our minds always open. And the minding thing, I think that's amazing that if that's what you got from Ireland, your time in Ireland. But obviously in Ireland, like I said earlier, the general society, that the people and the culture has it's not as diverse as what it is over here. So I think the amazing thing that I experience over here, and particularly with the Boks, is that mindingness, despite the vast differences within the team and how everyone understands each other and tries to, even if they don't understand it, that it's never met with just because something's different and I don't understand it, it's not met with it's never dismissive or met with any negativity. It's just, I don't understand that yet, but I'm happy for them to continue doing whatever it is that they're doing at that moment in time, and I might understand it in the future. And I think that's one of our great strengths.
Yeah. Maybe just finishing up with this, I found it there quickly. As I said, Quidine got hold of the bottom part here, but the white is still fine. But the big thing that obviously you guys has got, but the thing here is what we printed in was what Axel in the podcast sent to me, and it is you create your own reality in Munster, and then the date, and so again after Jerry almost flipped and said wanted to hit me there, I still got this afterwards, and so I never thought that we never cross paths again. I was pretty sure, not that anything was planned. We wouldn't know, I wouldn't know Swayze just before the 2019 World Cup would not go to the World Cup for his reasons, but then also for Stocker, and we actually met you at the World Cup. I don't think a lot of people know that we met you in Japan, and the players haven't seen you before, and we've only been together as a Springbok coaching team, ourselves and Jock and Allet was already in the mix. But then we met you in Japan. I don't know how many weeks in Japan, but the players met you there.
Yeah.
And then that's actually an incredible story, because that was 4 weeks out from the start of the World Cup. We played a Japanese warm-up test match. That was your first test match. And then then you coached them. Good in. Okay, the other one was over. Sean. Oh, vir die prank. Red, the color red is he hates
No
the
way.
color. He hates the color red. When anything is red, that's why he chose this.
Yeah.
He goes for everything that's red. That suitcase is not safe. Okay, let's try that again.
Yeah.
So maybe before we talk about you coming back to us, because when we met you a month, 3 weeks before the World Cup, and you coached the first match, your only match before the World Cup, was the Japanese warm-up match. We won that one, and then you won a World Cup with us, and then we won a British and Irish Lion Series, and then you won another World Cup, and then you came to me. I will never forget it. Same like Jock came to me and said, and I was sad when it's like that, but I knew I've made mistakes, and I didn't want people to make the same mistakes where you said, listen, man, my family is there, and that's the reason I'm going back. And I said, please make that decision. Don't make the wrong decision, because you've sacrificed so much, and you went back, and that's the reason why you went back. we don't have to discuss why did things not work out in England. That's got nothing to do with nobody. But accepting you in the rollback, I think people would like to know what you will do. And yesterday and the past 2 days, when I said to the coaches, Felix coming back, uh, I mean, everybody. This is the biggest coaching team I've been involved with, but the last 2 days at the coaches' workshop was probably the most productive for me. And what we're trying to do is, so I don't know if you want to have a go on, and maybe because we haven't chatted post that, but how did you experience the last 2 days? If you want to give a little bit more reason, with because your family are actually coming, as I understand currently. So the problem of you being away from your family, which was the reason why you went back, that in a way you're going to try and overcome with bringing them here. So that ticks that box. And then maybe if you want to have a go, how you are excited or maybe understand, because I know everybody else in the management team is hell of excited about you being back.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously really excited. I think I'm really excited because obviously knowing all the coaches that are there, and getting to know Tony now as the only coach I don't know there, and knowing having spoken to Jerry obviously a lot, and Andy, even having, when we left, they're still my friends. We would still catch up and discuss things, and knowing that the environment is still has many of the great strengths it did before, but has evolved slightly. And so, yeah, so for all those reasons, I'm really excited. And then, in coming back and doing probably what's a slightly different role, to being, before him, it probably comes across a little bit like that in Chasing the Sun and stuff, being so down in the specific of one department detail and going down that route so hard. I think the way I understand it, and you must tell me if I'm going down the wrong area with this, is maybe to have a bit more of a global view, and because I've coached now attack, I've coached the kicking game, I've coached defense, all in different places and areas. So to, I suppose, just keep adding to the guys in who are, I suppose, focusing on those areas and making sure that I can assist them and keep us moving forward in each area. And yeah, I think there's probably going to be definitely an element of figuring out exactly how I apply that. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm.
That's 100% spot on. And I think, again, for people where, when Jock was the coach, I believe, listen, there has to be somebody between the head coach and the CEO to make sure that the head coach can focus on the rugby. Now, obviously, with me last year becoming new head coach, I don't currently have that, but I must say SA Rugby is fantastic in the way they're helping me. But because I've been now in the system for a long time, I kind of know what happens between and above the normal doing things that we do in the team. So, and I've got a lot of people helping me with that. But that sometimes does take the head coach attention of small detail. And I think your eye for small detail with the knowledge and all the departments so well now. And, we always say we don't just want to chase. The people like to say, some guys, I don't remember if you know the word Kaizen, the Japanese word, or philosophy of that 1%er, chasing those 1%er. I've heard it from so many coaches, but it's all these nice to haves, it's an eye specialist and a vision coach or X, Y, and Z. But then the hard work, the 80% crafting, coaching, training, that's not your 90%, which you always do. But then just making sure where some detail falls on the ground, because you certainly didn't just coach attack. You helped us with analyzing the opposition profiles. You helped with the referee. You're going to again help Jaco Paper and our referee management and making sure that I stay out of that stuff. But then making sure what we've planned with the players, the profiles on the players, those players, how do we get them better? How do we get a certain coaching area better? So, and also, I think what I enjoy, what you do, Felix, and I think this is a very Irish thing. When I got there, I just experienced every single coach, person, player to want to get better in all areas. Like, I mean, you said, listen, I also would like to understand the administration side of things, the the committee side of thing to make you maybe a more rounded off or more knowledgeable in all areas. But eventually, when you become a head coach, which I'm sure you would want to become someday, which you can definitely do, but helping everywhere, definitely coaching and helping every coaching department, helping me a lot. We don't want to use the word coaching coordinator because you're assistant coach. But I see it, as I explained to the coaches, as this rope is made up of all these different strings. And if that strings are not tight, the rope is not tight. And to explain it in that words, I mean, but I think that came across nicely in the coaches camp. And it's now how we explain that to the players when they come up in Monday. But I know you've got that ability, and I know you're keen for that already. What we discussed the last 2 days ago, 3 very good things that you suggested already. So I think with that in mind, I think the people out there will now understand. It's not always a skill, but it's a person that you need.
I think also probably if I'd when we first came in 2019 or 2020 or anything like that, I had no concept of how a South African player develops. I had no concept of, how they play for their franchises and what school they went to, and their approach to the strength and conditioning side of things, and how all of that is shaped, over the years, getting a better and bigger understanding of that to help guys get better. I think that having the context of that now, having a better context of that now, I think also allows me to help players more. I think, I think it's natural the longer you're with a team or a group of people that your understanding increases. So it would never have been a possibility before, but I think now there's certain things that have just fallen away that it feels the natural thing to do.
Yeah, well, next year you're 10 years in coaching. From 2016, and next year's 2026. So you're 10 years in it. I mean, when we met, you were 2 years in it. And maybe the last thing I want to say on that is, and I'm not blowing smoke up the Irish peoples to give them a little bit, because maybe this is just a local, and people said local. I'm not sure how many people will tune into this, but I've never experienced when an Irish player a young player comes from the academy. The guy who's playing now, remember Calvin Nash, who's playing now for Ireland. He was a 19, 18-year-old boy. He's playing wonderful rugby for Ireland now. There's quite a few of them. Porter, we tried to sign him at Munster when he was at Leinster. But the one thing that always stood out for me there, when you were there in a Caribbean Munster or at Ireland, the 4 academies, Connacht, Munster, Leinster, who's the other one? Ulster. When you're in the academy, there was only 21 or 22 spots. There wasn't if you were number 1, number 2, number 3. If there were 3 number 1s and there wasn't a hooker, but there was no professional material there, then the guys trained with other team and they played for their clubs. And then after 2 years, they will assess it. And it was the weirdest thing for me. You'll actually call in a player after a year and 2 years, and you'll call his father or his mum or his agent in and say, listen, we're not giving you a contract. And that player wouldn't leave and go to another country. He will go and become a teacher because they're all studying while they're playing. Where in South Africa, if a player doesn't make it, he just moves to the other province or he just moves abroad. Where they got them better and better and better. Or, listen, you must give up. You're not a professional. And I think that it's not something that we would like to do, is just cut the guys off. But the way we developed our players now, the players we're working with is quite experienced, but some are really young. But even guys 25, 26, I think that's also something, because you've experienced it. I mean, you went through the academy system. You're probably one of the first ones that moved from Leinster to Munster. And that is also something that I think will help us a lot, that don't just take the next player. Make this one better. Make
a plan to make them better. And that's where I think the roadmaps, as we call them, is a massive thing for the players. And I think it's such a simple concept of, a player rates himself in, I think we use 1 to 5, rates himself in whatever area, and a coach rates the player in that same area. And if there's a discrepancy there, then the player sees the discrepancy and he writes in his roadmap, I think it's this, this, and this for these reasons. And the coach says, well, I think it's this, this, and this for these reasons. And it's such a simple way of just, okay, well, now we can see where we're on different pages, and we make each other better by chasing that. And I think I see huge value in that, and I have seen it change players from. I mean, when I look at Damien Valemza, for example, was like obviously an incredibly talented player, but had
Raw.
loads of raw, loose. There was a lot of looseness to the things he was doing. A huge effort in the things he was doing, but it was almost wild at times. And I feel he's someone that, and I know currently he's just about to come back from injury, but when you look at what he did for us in 2023, particularly in that
Mm.
World Cup, where he was just one of the best players in the team and one of the most accurate and consistent, and I felt it spoke a lot to the work all the coaches had put into his road mapping over that previous over that 4-year cycle. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And just to add to that, I'll maybe finish with this, and this will maybe be the last bit for the people to understand your role, apart from all the things that we spoke about, is that we had those roadmaps, but we didn't really get the opportunity to zoom into them, because then the guys go back to the franchise. But we have got them now. How many days are we going to be together this week, did y'all say?
This week or this
Oh,
year?
this year, sorry.
I think it's 160.
133
So,
or
yeah,
139, depending if you're a Japanese player or South
yeah.
African player or English, in an English club or whatever. But our philosophy now, if you're going to be 139 days with us, we want you to be 139 days better. But you as an individual, because I think we always grow as a team, our plan, our tactics, the way we operate, but we don't always find that time. Here's your roadmap, work on this, but then the player goes away again. And I guess bringing a bit of that mentality in with you, monitoring that for us, because you have the skills, we'll reap some rewards.
What with in Ireland, Ross, what are is there 2 or 3 things that you think back on the most fondly, or games that were the most memorable, or what is there any ones that jump out?
Well, the first one that was for me the toughest was to not accept. It was the one was after Axel died and passed away, and the games was postponed, and we came back with the next opponent, and we had the actual our whole theme was we create our own reality, and the boys, we got a red card in the first 7 minutes of
Against
Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Glasgow. Gregor Townsend was still the coach there, but we still give them 25 points, and they I just saw this, and the Irish, John Klein was there, and there was a few others out there. CJ Stunner was there, but it was the bulk were Irish guys, and our stuff like that meant to them. And when we say we create our own reality, there I learned, but listen here, a team talk is not about hyping guys up, about getting guys aligned emotionally. And that game is, wow, how can we beat this guys who was a really tough team to beat, and with a red card in the first couple of minutes, and we beat them by a fair amount of points. There I saw, listen, team talks doesn't have to be, it just has to align guys' energy and emotions. It doesn't have to be the psyching up of things. With the Irish guys aligned, so that game was special for me. And then the most disappointing one was that Pro 14 final, where we played against Scarlet at Aviva. I just don't understand how we almost got 50 points. I don't think in my career I've coached a team that got 50 points, but hell, at halftime I thought we were going to get 50 in that game. And that will always be something that I wonder, how did we get that wrong? I never saw that coming. And I've watched that game many times afterwards. I don't know how we got to that. And then the last game, because when you leave, I know that was emotional for me. I don't know if people don't even know. I can't know. So that not all of us are so talented like you in musical, but you had to sing a song in Ireland to be accepted in a Munster setup or in the Irish setup. They've got a wonderful tradition. And I practiced that Molly Malone over and over and over. And for the people listening, if the players don't start singing with you, you're not accepted yet. So Jock sang beautifully, and he practiced, and they started singing with. And then he was accepted, almost like our initiation in our Springbok team. And then I sang Molly Malone, and then everyone said, "That's a Dublin song. That's a Dublin song. You can't sing a Dublin song in Munster." And they said, "Listen, yeah, if you don't accept this now, then I'm not going to select you next week." So they accepted me. So that was a bit easier. But that's also the other thing that's weird that I must say. You can remember this. Something that was totally weird at Munster. Like when you finish a game or a team talk, the guys wouldn't come into a huddle. People will stand like this. And then you will say, okay, after the game, we lost the game, we won the game. Okay, are we not going to say Munster? Yes. And I remember you and Jerry, I was asking you guys, why don't we have a huddle? You guys says, no, why? I said, no, just to finish the talk, like even the training sessions.
Yeah.
When we had a training session, we all were done, and then the guy was, okay, thanks, walk off the field. And then I think, but don't we have a Munster? Yes. And I remember you guys say, why do you want to say Munster? I said, because we are Munster.
Yeah.
And then I remember we tried a little group.
There's actually a photograph of it, I think. Someone's taking a photo of it,
It's me, you. I said, okay, we want to start small. It's me, you, Jerry, and Jock. And we did Munster, yes. I saw Connor Murray and all the guys. What are these guys doing? And a little bit later, we got out the management team in. And they never caught on to that. It didn't become something, but at least we were... linking in with each other.
The intention of it was right.
That was that must be. I mean, when you came over here, remember I still googled a clip for you and see like here's the Springbok thing how they normally do it. And you guys said no, that's weird. And that's just how the two cultures differ. Of course. No, they could be psyched up and ready for a game without. Yes, afterwards. That was something very weird to me.
What about the New Zealand Maori game, Ross?
Oh yes, that was
the week. Will you explain because I remember at the time myself and Jerry were kind of going, I don't think Rassie's getting this. He's not getting it.
No, I didn't get it. It's like the funeral. I didn't understand our funeral work. I didn't get that we carrying the coffin and this is a hell of a process. And I mean, from the airport till where Axel was in his house. That where the people stood right next to the road, almost from where you drive to the airport. So again, funerals doesn't work like that in South Africa. So when the Maoris came over, obviously there was also the beautiful thing before I get to the match is when the Maoris put the actual jersey down there and they does to the respect. That made it really special. We did beat them, didn't we? Yeah, we beat them. But the leading up to that, I said, no, this is not an important game. This is like a practice game. And I remember now the manager coming to me and say, hey, do you know the tradition of Munster? We've beaten many teams, touring side, big international teams. And I said, no, but this is not an important game. And I get an awakening. You and Jerry came to me and says, but are you taking this serious enough? Do you understand? And then I went back and I searched and I watched all the team that Munster beat. And actually the Thursday before that game, I really got nervous. I thought I didn't take this thing up serious enough. But then I said to the players, you remember, guys, I used other words. I said, I buggered this up. Please, we must take this serious now. What I said during the work, this is not a practice match. This is not getting game time. And obviously, I think the whole way the Maoris did Aka and put the jersey there. And then the boys forgave me and played really well. But I certainly underestimated what that meant for Munster. Was that your...
Yeah, it was not. It just sprung to my mind there because when myself and Jerry were having a coffee yesterday, I think, we were saying, oh, look, isn't it, how crazy is rugby that, we've gone different paths and crisscrossing what we were talking about earlier and seeing, being involved with certain teams and coaches again and again. So we were just joking about that, and he said, think back, because after that Maori game, he had said, we had said in the changing room afterwards, because we felt we were the massive underdogs. It was super rugby players, and we had guys from the academy, and
some of the senior players
were with. I think they might have been with Ireland. And we had the guys who were maybe sometimes second and third choice, and had never even played for Munster, and will probably never did play for Munster again after that. And then also we felt that we had managed to convince you and Jacques and to buy into the whole tradition of it and stuff. So after that game, we felt the odds were so against us. It's also being the year, not that long after Axel passed away. So we said if we never get to coach another game, it was worth it just to experience that game. That was probably one of my fondest memories of that year.
And the Munster song "Stand Up and Fight." I think that relates the way Munster for me is a lot like Bloemfontein. Other thing about Munster is I've never seen a Munster crowd get up and walk out before the end of the game or boo or they give you carrots through the week and they tell you, listen, you're bad in the media and they take you on. But I think I'm not sure if it's like same in Leinster or Connacht or Ulster, but definitely at Munster there was never. Um, yeah, they also learned a lot that yeah, one can support a little bit better and understand a little bit better, and yeah,
I
yeah,
think Limerick is like Bloemfontein. There's an element definitely of that.
mm,
I remember when I first I wasn't it was when Dan had just been appointed after
yeah,
2019, and I'd come over to do some franchise
mm,
visits and
mm,
go into the office and do a bit of work. Right? But I said, listen, Dan, I think I've got 3 days here on the weekend. If I leave early on a Friday, I'll come up to Bloemfontein and visit you. And he said, yeah, top, you stay in my house, the whole lot. So, all right. So, and I'd been in Bloemfontein once or twice before, but this was the first time I was really going up to see it. And he said, listen, my farm is, we'll go out and we'll spend the day in the farm. It's just outside Bloemfontein. And we were in the car. I'd say we were driving for about 2 hours in the car. He was like, no, it's just up here. And I was like, okay, first of all, the distances are different to
yeah,
over there.
yeah,
And then that was also amazing to see Dan's farm and to see what life, how he would have grown up
yeah,
on the farm, and to understand again when certain players that we're dealing with come from a farming background, and uh, how they grew up and how they would approach certain things just based off doing that. But one of the things Dan made me do, not made me do, he asked me to do it. We were cutting up
mm,
sheep,
yeah,
yeah, and I said, "Oh, I'll help you." And he said, "Okay, right." So we went out to one of the barns, and there was a huge refrigerator with, some carcasses like in there. And Dan said, "Listen, come in here." And he had these huge knives, really sharp knives, and he was saying, "Will you hold the legs?" And I said, "Yeah," and then he was like, "No, no, no, go in here." And he's making me get into the corner a bit more, holding this sheep, and he had these knives. And I was like, in my head, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Nobody actually knows I've come up to see Dan for 3 or 4 days on my own. We're hours away from any town. He's got this knife. In my head, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in a freezer right now. He's got this knife." I was like, "This is it." I had nowhere to go. I was cornered.
yeah.
Um,
It is
so
the
yeah,
horror story.
yeah, it was almost like something like a nightmare. But it was really amazing to
Yeah,
see that side of it.
that's why we always talk about a boy from the village in the Eastern Cape. But for Afrikaans boy from a farm, it's all, English are as foreign for him, and the big cities are as foreign for him. But when I went to Munster, there was this place called Dingle. Nee, it's
Yeah,
Dingle, and there's was this dolphin, fungi.
yeah,
Am I right?
yeah.
And everybody said this dolphin has been there for how many years? And I wanted to go and see this dolphin, but there's these big tourism boats. I don't know what's a better word for it, or passenger boats. But there was a guy there that said, no, he knew I was there. I booked an hotel there, me and my family. And he said, no, he's got a boat. He's going to take us out. So we had a good evening. The next morning we were there and we stopped there, but I wouldn't say the harbor, but the place where the small boats are parked. And I saw this boat small, but you drive and we get into this boat, go into the ocean, and you would throw over the line, and then the children will pull out fish and everything's
Macro, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
There's big tourism boat or passion, I don't know, with a boat where you actually go and watch fungi at. There's dolphin, and it's a big thing to see fungi because he's like a hero there, and everybody knows about him. And my small one, Yanni, said, but she's standing in the water of the back of this boat. It was the second week, or the third week of the month. But we were in the ocean,
And
like deep into the ocean. And the guy who was driving the boat, I said to him, is this normal? And he said, no, that's not 100% normal. And then eventually he said to me, I must take the steering wheel of this boat. So I went to the front of this boat, and it was lifting up like this, and it was gathering water at the back, and I was hanging on the steering wheel, and my children were starting to cry. All three daughters was on there, Nikki was on there. A long story short, that was my first weekend. This big boat, which you actually look at fungi, came and they rescued us, and they pull us off this boat onto this big, not cruiser, but a bigger boat wagon. And it was the most embarrassing thing ever. Not because we panicked so much. And then we got onto this boat, and that boat just sinked, which we won. So that was my first holiday in Dingo. We never saw fungi. I don't know, is the myth? Is there really a dolphin?
I'm not sure Fungy's still alive, but
But
he
he
he,
was
he
there.
was there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I saw
I
him
never
growing up
saw.
as a
Well,
child
I
a few
maybe
times.
swam with him
Yeah,
as we were in the
yeah, yeah.
ocean, but I never actually saw them.
Ross, last one. I know. Sorry, we're
No,
going
no,
on.
go.
Can you remember that pub in Castleconnell, the
Yeah.
Kingfisher,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Gearan's?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
you remember early on? It must have been the first week. We had a pint there.
The guy that was the old guy
Yeah,
behind
the
it.
guy behind the bar, but Paddy. But can you remember? Me and you went in there for
Yeah.
a pint, and can you remember what you said to me in there at that stage? You said. You didn't say it like, "Oh, I'll give you one piece of advice," but I took one piece of advice from it. Can you remember it?
No.
You had said to me, and it stuck with my coaching like the whole way through. And at the time, I remember, like you said, I just started, and I was trying to, I suppose, prove myself to the other coaches, to the players, to trying to know it all,
Yeah.
know it all basically. And he said, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say as a coach is, "I don't know."
I don't know. I remember that.
Um,
Yeah, you can say you're allowed to say I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, I think once one accepts that listen, when a player sometimes asks you something and you say, I really don't know. Let's go and work it out tonight. Or yeah, that. But I will also remember about that guy who ran that thing.
yeah, Paddy, yeah,
Perry. Is he still alive?
yeah, Paddy's still alive,
Still alive.
yeah.
But he would leave us and he would leave the till, the cash register open, and he would go and sleep.
Yeah.
And he just trusted you to pay your money into
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it that place?
Yeah, and if the phone rang, you'd have to answer the phone for him,
and he
and
would
he'd
stay on
take a
top
message.
of the pub
Yeah.
in a house.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
When you go there again, say how's it
I will.
doing?
I will.
What we still must do, because I didn't get a chance, I really want to go to Axel's grave. And when we had the tour, when we toured Ireland and we had the SAA games, I was on my way there, but it was becoming a little bit of a media thing. And I think I will want to go there on my own and just, so we'll play Ireland the end of the year. We'll make a plan to get there.
Great.
I think that's more or less us. Thanks,
Okay,
Felix.
Ross. Pleasure.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.